Tesla's biggest holiday update ever just dropped with features you'd likely pay for, except they're all free.
Yes, and the latest full self-driving version is here, and it's one of the best we've ever seen.
And some of the OEMs are in emergency mode and making major crazy changes like Jaguar's big rebrand. All that and more starts right now.
I know you're excited about the Jaguar one.
I am. We're going to get into it right here. All right, should we just go ahead and dive right in?
Let's do it. Yes.
All right. So before we jump in, I wanted to also let you guys know that this podcast is available on all major streaming platforms.
Yes. And also make sure that you check out the chapters. They're all listed below so you can jump to the topics that you're interested in. And in addition to that, you can also sign up for our free weekly newsletter, which I love that you send this out. Bite-sized chunks of the news, some of them that don't make it to this podcast. There's so much good stuff to talk about. All right, Kim, how about the update? The biggest update of the year. Mm-hmm. When we look at the list of things, which I counted about 25, at least 25 different features and then additional smaller features embedded in them. This is something, a lot of them, I'd pay a lot of money for.
I think a lot of people are going to be asking for Apple Watches for Christmas. They're Tesla owners.
Is that a hint, Kim?
It is.
Kim needs a new Apple Watch.
I do. I definitely need a new Apple Watch.
And then she keeps hinting, is this happening? Am I getting this for Christmas? Do you have a spouse out there that
some boxes arrived in the mail and then he quickly went and
she hints at him so many times to where now it's kind of ruining the surprise. And I'm like,
because it better be coming. And I want to open it next week if it is here so I can demo that for everybody.
Okay. All right.
All right. That'll be an early Christmas present.
We'll see what happens.
All right. So the Apple Watch, though, you'll be able to use that as the key to get into your car, control climate, open the front trunk.
Yep. Check battery percentage. Yeah, that becomes a really big thing that for a long time there was aftermarket.
Yeah. But you paid for those where this is like a native app.
Then dash cam gets an update as well where Sentry clips can now be saved, shared, and edited on your phone, which is huge. It doesn't seem like it's huge, but it was always so cumbersome to be able to go in there and figure out the footage. Now it's, right there wherever you are.
As a creator, this is great. And this is the thing where they're like, Tesla doesn't really do marketing. But yes, they do. They do stuff like this, where now all of a sudden everyone's going to be sharing those clips from their Tesla. It's like genius.
It is it's pretty smart. And then there's Autoshift for Model 3, which of course is stockless, but now just like our Model S and X, where it automatically dictates which direction you might want to go based on obstacles around you. Autoshift is there as well. You get multi-point turning where you just back up and it knows that at this point you need to go forward again and it automatically shifts. So that's all coming to Model 3. Sirius XM, which again we've had on S and X, is also rolling on 3Y and Cybertruck.
What's funny is that a lot of these things I don't even realize sometimes that other Tesla owners didn't have them because I usually drive my X and I just forget that those are not things.
Yeah, the stockless obviously we've had for so many years, but that's going to roll out probably to Model Y as well. And it's already there obviously with Cybertruck, but Precipitation on your map display at your center screen.
You're so excited for this one, our ex-weatherman over here.
Oh my gosh. So you don't even know how many times during severe weather, especially here in the South, that I'm pulling up an app and I've got my premium apps that I'm looking at weather data on and kind of seeing if I'm going to be driving in that storm. But to have this just implemented so you know where the direction that you're heading is going to run into these afternoon cells and thunderstorms that develop across town.
Is it going to show you all the little lightning strikes?
I pay extra for lightning data, but you're letting
You're just going to develop an app for your Tesla that just is like the premium weather edition. Yes. Let me know actually if you guys would like that. Maybe we should do that.
Don't even. So rear cross traffic alert is also in there as well. So as you're backing out now, there's going to be an obstacle detection, which obviously you can see it on the cameras. You see it kind of highlight red. Now there'll be an audible detection along with that as well. So you'll be able to tell
as
if
a
someone's
parent,
there.
I really like that one because I've heard some horror stories. And I think that is really key to have. And that was actually one of the features I really liked that like GMC and Chevy have in their vehicles is that your seat vibrates.
Yes.
And I really, really like that. So having something, I mean, this isn't exactly, but having more alerts is always a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously with Tesla, we know how seamless it is to disable them, put Joe mode and these things and quiet them down if that's not what you want. But yeah, there's other smaller ones like custom Cybertruck wrap that you can put on your vehicle since a lot of people are wrapping the only option that it comes in. So you now are able to customize that. And you get a license plate, little digital license plate that pops up. You can customize that as well on your center screen. Rear camera improvements. I think that's specific to Cybertruck as well, where you can pinch in and zoom.
Fart on demand.
Yes.
I guess not on demand.
Fart on contact.
Contact. So it's like an actual whoopee cushion now.
Did you see what they put for their little description of it?
No.
Sit happens.
Sit?
Sit happens.
I don't know if I get it.
Happens.
But it's not shit. It's like
But when you sit, come on, Kim.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I guess.
But yeah, you can, that's what their little talking point was in there, that you can now fart on contact.
I like it though.
So it uses the seat sensors where you're seated.
I think
so
we get it.
It doesn't look as obvious. Well, you obviously didn't at first.
I didn't get the sit happens because I'm not thinking like sit. I'm thinking
I mean,
like,
if Mike Tyson is maybe saying it, then it might sound more
but
like...
a toot is not the same thing as a sit.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You're getting too technical.
Okay. All right.
We'll move on to the latest full self-driving update, Kim, because this is 13.2. It's only available right now for AI4. And honestly, it might only be an AI4 feature for a little while here, depending on if hardware...
It's so good though.
It's incredible.
I am so like, and I hate to say this, but I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that I was in a car accident with our Model 3.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like a blessing in disguise because it's going to force me to get a new vehicle.
Yeah.
And I really want AI4 FSD. And this is like, I mean, it's happening. Like all the things with Robotaxi, it's happening in this update. So I'll let you keep going before I interrupt you again.
The three key features. So we've got unpark, reverse, and park. With unpark, of course, you can now unpark out with an FSD. There's actually a button on the screen now. You tap into it, and it's a new Start FSD screen button that you tap. And then all of a sudden, it'll just engage, back up, and continue on. But it reverses out, obviously, to do that if you need to on FSD, but goes all the way to your destination. And once it gets to that point, which was a concern you had a few months ago, it doesn't just end saying you've made it to this, mall or school or whatnot. It literally will start looking for the most available parking spot in that area. And Elon had suggested a long time ago that it'll look at signs and make sure it's, complying with when you can and can't park in a certain spot. But this is all happening with this update. Again, only AI4, only early adopters, early testers for now. They're going to try this out for a few weeks, probably around Christmas. If it all goes well, then it will come to others. But the question is it going to come to hardware 3, which Tesla's so far has said that hardware 3 does have limitations and it possibly can't tap into all of these things. For example, this is going to make faster decisions, 2 times faster decisions. Photon to control latency is what Tesla is referring to it as, which is pretty significant in layman's terms. You're looking at something that's already faster than a human now being twice as fast as a human in making those decisions. So I don't know if the compute power is there for hardware 3 on some of this stuff.
But they said, and we've talked about this a lot, that they said hardware 3 would be able to be Robotaxi ready. And these are all things that are needed for Robotaxi. Well, they said that,
but then wasn't it during the earnings call or somewhere on X where Elon kind of countered that and said, we'll upgrade them for free. It looks like it may not happen. So there's 2 schools, Lars and Franz, who talked to you and said that hardware 3 can do it. And then Elon on the earnings call saying that I don't think it's 100% going to be able to do it without some tweaks.
All right. So. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to have our Model 3 with hardware 3
to test the side by side.
To test that out.
Yeah.
So we'll be definitely making a video though. We'll figure out a way to make it. We'll just get FSD in our Model X, but that also is hardware 3.
Yes, but if they are going to revert and put that onto hardware 4, then we'll be able to upgrade that for free.
But anyways, what are you guys excited about? Like, Merry Christmas.
Tesla's done this for so many years. We saw Rivian's Halloween update with all the spooky features, and it had some useful features in there as well, but most of it was just kind of fun. This is 25, like I said, that I counted, features that are kind of embedded in there. And every year we had Sentry mode, I believe, during a holiday update period. Every year we get so many incredible features, all of this for free, which I think a lot of people outside of the Tesla sphere don't really realize the incredible amount of value, because you get a car now, it comes with it, you think that that's what you paid for. But, they really could charge for this stuff. They charge for other things via software. They really could charge for some of this stuff. And I know they would. I mean, they sell little tiny robot action figures, in a half a second, or cyber socks or whatever. They'll have no problem selling this stuff.
And I was thinking about that even, I just reviewed Hyundai's new vehicle. And like with Hyundai and Kia, they actually charge for some of their little updates for their light features and things like that. Those are all add-ons. where Tesla's just like giving them to you as like a Christmas present.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And speaking of Christmas presents, I feel like this could be a pretty thoughtful Christmas present right here. So we've partnered with Delete Me because it's the simplest and one of the best things that you could do for your online safety. I've always wondered how I end up on random emails or calls from things I never signed up for. That's because data brokers are constantly out there collecting huge amounts of personally identifiable info from places like public records and social media accounts. They aggregate, analyze, and sell your info to those with interest in that data, and just like that, you get on these lists. I want to show you guys this because this is my privacy report over on Delete Me. It's a hands-off service that will remove your personal info from being sold online. My report showed there were over 3,300 total listings that were reviewed, and Delete Me's privacy expert reviewed and removed 22 listings that were all selling my private info. There's actually a really cool chart to see how many listings of you make it out there each month. Delete Me will remove all of your personal data, phone numbers, addresses, and the best part is they will even scan for repeats and delete them all year long. I've personally been using Delete Me for over a year and trust them because of the number of sites it has found and removed me from. To try Delete Me, check out joindeleteme.com/KimJava and be sure to use the code KimJava to get 20% off all consumer plans. All right, let's get back to the video.
Speaking of getting something for a Christmas present, this is a software update that's coming out as well, but it's not part of the holiday.
I thought it was something for me. I was like, whoa.
No, don't you worry. Yeah, so I'm talking about the charge port heater because they've actually released now a software update that's going to give you a dedicated spot in your controls, service, charge port heater tab. You press a little button on your screen there, and then it pops up, your charge port begins heating up because obviously we know in cold weather regions, Tesla's had all these issues with door handles being jammed, windows being jammed, charge port doors being frozen shut. So this software update is actually a physical feature they put in the cars in late 2020. And it was kind of an indirect method to be able to activate this when you're en route to a supercharging station or preheating your cabin. That would all kick on. Now it's a dedicated tab inside your service setting in your center screen controls area.
What I would love if they extended this and they made your cup holders heated.
Do you remember when you tweeted Elon and he responded saying that he has dreams about cup holders? And I think talked about having cup holders be heated into complications that come with cup holder designs.
If they can figure out the charge port, like the cup holder doesn't seem like it'd be that difficult. I mean, they have those coffee cups that you can buy that actually keep your coffee warm.
Yeah, but I mean, I was about to say, does Tesla even make an ultra luxury vehicle? Because those are things that you might find.
Oh, maybe they're saving that for the X and S. That would be cool.
If an upgrade to the X and S come, for sure, that could be something that you would.
Or the Roadster that they continue to forget about.
It was not in the family photo. Did you see that? They released
a
family photo. I think it was X that they posted it on with all of their Teslas, including the Robotaxi and the van.
I'm a little offended. What does that mean? We know it's coming though. So
they just said on the earnings call that it's coming. But yeah, that is a little strange.
It's like that weird uncle that you forget to include, Bruno.
But
it's Bruno.
The fact that they put the bus on there, the Robo bus that they put on there, but they didn't put that's odd to me.
But it turned out Bruno was just misunderstood.
Yeah.
So let's get that Roadster out.
Maybe the Roadster is just going to primarily fly, and that's why it's not in the car family.
Let's just start all the controversies right now. Obviously, their focus is on Cybercab. That's the main focus of the company right now.
Yeah, they've always said that that's exactly where they're headed with autonomy and full self-driving. But they just announced, this is again, right as we're putting the headsets on, that 50 to 60% less parts and less components for the Model 3, for the Cybercab than the Model 3 and Y. And we already know how simple the design and the architecture of the 3 and Y is. So this is really cutting back down down in half, essentially.
Yeah, well, they need to keep it affordable, and that's what they're trying to do. And it's amazing that they're doing it.
Yes. And the Cybertruck has become affordable too. A lot, not affordable enough for me, but it is definitely affordable. Yeah, just reduced lease pricing by up to 13%. That applies for the all-wheel drive and also the Cyber Beast tri-motor version. So all-wheel drive is $899 now, which is a 10% decrease. That's the monthly rate for that. The tri-motor Cyber Beast is $999. That's the 13% decrease. Mm-hmm. So it's gotten a lot cheaper.
But then there are people saying that the demand is not there, and they actually told the workers to stay home for 3 days.
Yeah, this was actually the 3 days, I believe, are either ending today or tomorrow. So, I mean, literally here in early December, they told the people on the Cybertruck line in Texas to stay home and, take a break. They're paid, They really didn't provide any reason why they're asking that. But then you kind of think about, hey, this time last year, Tesla was touting over 1 million, just before the pricing, I guess, came out and the unveil happened in November. That, they were touting that over 1 million reservations. Before that,
but that was when the truck was a $40,000 truck.
Yes.
So even with it, the price going down, that's not what it is.
So, I mean, here's two ways you can look at it. They've sold only 35, maybe 40,000 units so far around the world. Obviously, they're delivering to Canada, US, and Mexico only right now. The vast majority of that, of course, is in the US. But with that number in mind, 40,000 is a far cry from getting 200,000 reservations in the first week in 2019 and the million plus that we thought they had. So that's where kind of the naysayers are coming in. But then if you look at it glasses half full, they are the best-selling electric truck, beating all the other electric trucks put together. They're the third best-selling EV in the country, only behind a YN3. They're the best-selling $100,000 vehicle in the country as well. So that's a lot of units for that price point, essentially.
So what is going on? What are they doing during those 3 days? If it's not a demand issue, are they like retooling the factory for robotaxi? Is it something to do with like
Model 2? Yeah. I mean, I keep calling it Model 2, but which could be a robotaxi, but yeah.
Like, what is happening? What do you guys think? Let us know. Or if you have any leads, then definitely let us know.
Yeah, you've got some factory friends. You got some friends in the factory.
We could be anonymous. We have to talk about what is going on with Jaguar. There's a lot of big changes. They have a new vehicle that they just announced, the 00. They're doing a major rebrand, and like it or not, it's definitely getting a lot of attention. You guys have probably seen it. It's been in the news the last couple of weeks. They had this little short video that came out that kind of looked like a perfume ad or something.
Yeah.
Elon commented on it, which got even more attention, asking, I think he said something about, are they selling cars?
Which to me, this is great for Jaguar. I mean, this is the best thing that's happened to them for a long time. It's like you look at Google Trends, their search for the word Jaguar, as it relates to their vehicles, I guess, had no interest until about 2019. The I-Pace was introduced, saw a spike there, flattened out again. They sell about 2,000 units per year of the I-Pace.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're struggling. So this is a huge...
they definitely, though, needed a wake-up call, but did they need a woke-up call? I think that's really what is going on here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are like, wait, this is like a beloved brand of kind of like more a boomer generation, I might say.
Okay.
But now they're going for a completely different crowd.
Yeah, so the Type 0 to Type 00, I guess, the moniker of this is kind of, the 00 implies that it's zero tailpipe emissions. The Type is kind of playing off of the, the E-Type, the F-Type, and all of these models they've had over the years. So it's playing off of that, and it'll be a 00, a 01 in the future. They're saying they're going all electric. They're actually immediately going to stop production of their vehicles. It's a new platform. They're even getting rid of the I-Pace and starting from scratch and going all in. And they're like, we don't care about what people think about our approach. We're going to do electric, and we're going to do it this way. And it's going to be avant-garde, and it's going to get your attention. And it certainly has. Do
you feel like it offended you?
Not me personally. No, not whatsoever. I don't really get too bothered by it. I mean, obviously, this is the kind of stuff that they thought about probably deeply and went into. Yeah. And the unveiling of the Type 00 itself is kind of very cyber futuristic looking vehicle that they're coming out with. 430 miles of range. I think on the WLTP it's 480 miles, and charges in like 15 minutes, gets you 200 miles of range. $125,000 starting price. Comes out next year, and I imagine other ones in the future, the Type 1s and 2s, probably drop down a little bit in price. But this is what they're trying to do. What's
interesting is that they're going to stop production altogether for about a year before they get this out. I think that's kind of fascinating that they're like completely redoing things. And I do have some thoughts on it, because I do like the concept vehicle that came out. I think it's actually really cool, futuristic. Like, I think they're going in a good direction, but I think the ad is a little bit different. So like I read so many reviews and saw things before I went and saw it myself. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was going to be even crazier. And then I watched it and I'm like, okay, well, this really isn't that bad. It's like a lot of bright colors and like, kind of a little bit crazy, but it wasn't as bad as I expected after like
I mean, like you said, a perfume commercial.
Yeah.
It's not like we haven't seen ads like that in magazines or TV ads, just not related to cars. There was no cars shown. But sometimes you see ads like that that really don't show the product whatsoever. So, I mean, that's not super unusual.
But I do think because of all the hype it's gained right now, there might be some people that like the vehicle, but they might not want
that association
that they're going for, which is kind of like the complete opposite of Tesla, right? With like the direction Elon's going in. So it's like maybe they're purposely doing that. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, their sales have been down so significantly that at this point, any sort of interest, and people just don't even realize that Jaguar was still making cars, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this
except for when he went in a Waymo.
That's true. The I-Pace was there.
Yeah, and the I-Pace, I was like, I-Pace is not that bad.
It's not a bad vehicle. I mean, it's not cheap for what it was. The people that had it seemed to like it, but they're only moving. I checked Q1 of this year, 220 or so units sold so far in 2024. They've sold about 2,000 units. Last year, they actually sold less than 1,000 units of the I-Pace. So they're not really moving that car by volume. But, you know, Oscar Wilde once said the only thing worse than people talking about you is people not talking about you. So
it is a smart move, and they needed to go crazy. And if you think about it, like this is sort of the direction Tesla did with the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Like it got so much hate in the beginning, but people were talking about it.
Yeah. But the question is, are they going to bring this Type 00 to market looking almost like that? Because the Cybertruck did, and Tesla's pretty much the only automaker to have ever done that. You know, realistically, you're going to think they're going to swap this and it's going to be a significantly different version with 20% of the design language of this unveiling that we just saw.
I hope not, because I actually really like the design language. What did you guys think of it? Did you like it? And is this something that you're looking at in the future? And then talking about dramatic shifts that are needed to kind of like capture the attention of audiences and consumers out there, it looks like Nissan and Stellantis should possibly be thinking about doing something like this too.
Yeah, they just declared a self-declared emergency mode that they might have about 12 to 14 months to survive. Financially, they're really, really struggling. You know, we're looking at 304% decline in their profits just in the past year. And their CEO actually just voluntarily took a 50% pay cut. And then there was their CFO who's also resigning as well. So yeah, financially, they're not doing great.
And like, I keep going back to it because we went to Japan. Was that last year or 2 years ago?
No, it was a year ago.
A year ago with Nissan. And I sort of offended their CEO. The EV adoption is not quite as high.
This time EV adoption is high, by the way. We have 58%, okay?
But maybe he should have listened to me.
That was the same CEO that you kind of brought up the question of, hey, why hybrids? Why not full EVs? And what happened to the market share that Nissan really had? We had a Nissan Leaf, 12 years ago. So the market share, they were dominating it. And then all of a sudden it flipped.
Yeah. I think that, that Leaf came out and a lot of people loved it. We had great incentives. Before we even had our YouTube channel, we should have started one back then because we told everyone we knew about it. And like 10 of our friends went out and bought them. They were virtually free if you lived in Georgia at the time because of the tax incentives. And it was a great little car to kind of get you into electric. And it was before Tesla was what it was. Most people had never heard of Tesla at that point. But they should have built on that and made a better design because the Leaf is not that attractive of a vehicle.
Yeah,
it wasn't cool. They needed a marketing campaign. Well, they really needed
at that time, besides Tesla, everyone thought an EV should be a boxy little, the i3 was there and the Leaf was there. They were all little buggy looking
or Lego looking cars.
Lego looking vehicles. Yeah.
Yeah. Which now also Stellantis is running into the same issues with all them where all the CEOs now are like, I'm leaving. They're being blamed for all the problems, but really it is a problem. They were late to jump on. Okay. So if you own a Nissan or you drive one, you're probably in need of some good news right now. And we have some for you.
We do. So the Ariya will get access to 17,800 supercharging stations starting next week. Tesla announced last month that they were going to get supercharger access starting last month. Didn't happen. It was delayed. Now they're getting it, and they're actually going to be able to purchase a CCS to NACS adapter, $235. Doesn't come for free. You got to purchase it. It's not natively in either until next year when they begin building these. The charger actually is on the front passenger side, so it does make it a lot easier to plug into a Tesla supercharger versus blocking in multiple stalls.
And we also have some good news when it comes to these NACS chargers, the North American Charging Standard, as we've been calling it. It looks like they're going to become an actual standard here in the US.
Yeah, so this was actually announced just in the last few minutes right before we put on the headsets. So it looks like going into early next year, the new administration is going to facilitate this, and the NACS then becomes a standard. It essentially is. Everyone's on board with it pretty much. So this is not, again, surprising, but it's going to be official very soon.
I guess that's what happens when Elon becomes president.
I know you couldn't resist.
I couldn't help it. But I think that's good news. I think that having a standard, and a standard that actually works like we know this does, it'll be nice. And hopefully they also standardize the side they put the charge port on.
That's the biggest part. Yes, absolutely. It's so nice having it, but as soon as you and I test any vehicle that has supercharger access, but it's on the wrong side, man, oh man. It's kind of embarrassing because you're out there backing up and people are looking at you like, why are you here in the first place? And then you maneuver it, you take 2 spots, and another Tesla owner drives and you feel even worse. It's really uncomfortable.
But do you think that gas stations ever had this problem? If you think about it, because they also have their charge port, but it's kind of like, and sometimes it's not standard. Sometimes it's on the right side. Sometimes it's on the left side, but it's never really on the front of the vehicle.
Some vehicles it is, but not a lot of them, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't. They're much longer. That's the thing.
That's the thing, I think, is that the cables are so much longer. Yes. So V4 chargers, though, the cables are longer. Yeah. And I also noticed with a lot of the V4 chargers that are coming in, they're putting them on the sides rather than in the front, which will also help, I think. It looks like Kia is adding some robots to their factory. Kia is giving their employees these wearable, kind of like a wearable exoskeleton, I'll call it, where it actually helps us support their arms and give them extra strength. So if they're looking up and working on their car, it helps with all that. And I think it's really cool because obviously it helps with safety and injuries and all kinds of things like that. And they're implementing these into their vehicles. And that's one of the things I really like about Kia and Hyundai are they're focused on the future. And I think that's where, obviously Nissan and Stellantis are falling behind because these other companies that, 10, 15 years ago, we all kind of were like, oh, who are these companies? Now, are ahead of them by miles.
Yeah. No, I can see that. And obviously wearable tech has become a big deal in recent years. I'm sure CES will have something like this for you to check out. But I think I saw something about 50, 100 pounds of force, additional strength, essentially, that it gives you. So,
it's like Iron Man.
You could wear that and I don't need to help you move stuff around the house when you're constantly redecorating.
Or no, just opening up cans, to give you some extra strength in your hands. You're I don't know, so many different applications. I'm excited.
So Kim, speaking of Kia and their plans moving forward, did you see this? They've confirmed a very unconventional electric truck that's coming to market sometime in the next 6 months. This is the Kia Tasman. And again, mid-sized truck, despite looking strange, it's gotten a lot of buzz, maybe kind of like Cybertruck did when it came out with an unconventional look and got a lot of buzz. But
sorry, I started pulling up I wanted to pull up the pictures.
You want to look at the Tasman?
Yeah, I wanted to watch it. Along with all of you guys.
Yes. So, they're getting this is a modular architecture. So this has a drivetrain that will end up eventually on the Palisade and the Telluride. It's going to compete with the Toyota Tacoma, with the F-150 Lightning as well. And we know, a lot of automakers are struggling. Kia is the one automaker that you can make a case for that's actually been succeeding in selling both their, hybrid gas-powered versions, but also their electric versions especially. So this particular one is destined initially for South Africa in 6 months, mid-2025. About 12 months from right now, end of 2025, it goes to Australia, which is where the namesake kind of comes in, the Tasman. And a hybrid version will actually end up in Australia initially. But and we think this is not coming to the US anytime soon, not until at least 2027, because there's going to be a lot of tariffs involved, of course. It's built in South Korea. So 2027... Georgia, they've got a $13 billion plant here in Georgia with how much they've invested in their battery factories, 2 of them in Georgia near Savannah. They've got another one there for their Meta plant. So that's where we think this is going to be built when it does end up in the U.S. in around 27.
What do you think of the look? It's more of that boxy style look, which I feel like we're seeing, Rivian, Scout, Hummer, EV.
Yeah.
There was another electric car company, start with a B. I'm not thinking of it right now, but they were very boxy.
Bollinger.
Too. They never, what happened to them?
I think they produced, that was very boxy and cool. I think they've produced some.
Yeah. Did they? I don't know. If you guys know, comment.
Yeah.
But it kind of like, it's that sort of style of look. But I really like this. I like this look. I think it would sell well, especially for people who are not like into Cybertruck. And
I think you've always liked boxy from the moment I met you 18 years ago. You like boxy vehicles.
Just don't put me in a box.
But then obviously with EVs and the early nature of them and the efficiency and the battery technology 10 years ago, boxy was the opposite of what you needed to be able to get the maximum range. Now with tech improving, you can have more fun with the design.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's really cool. And if they could build this, in Georgia, then maybe I'll get it first. Who knows? You just said the cost coming down, that they're going to be able to do like these more boxy designs, but there's definitely a lot of improvements in terms of battery. And there was a new study that came out that said that replacing your battery will actually cost less than replacing an ICE engine. Yeah,
this is a Recurrent study. Recurrent's an EV analytics firm. They've done a lot of studies there when it comes to range and degradation as well that we've talked about on this podcast. But what they're saying here is that the data supports that, yes, the battery packs, even a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack is going to cost about $80 a kilowatt hour versus what it cost last year, which was about $160 a kilowatt hour. So the significant drop every single year here is going to cost us about $4,000, maybe $5,000 to replace a 100 kilowatt hour massive battery pack. And, Model 3s and Ys and 75, 80 kilowatt hour battery packs, $3,500 to replace those by 2030. That's on par and even cheaper than gas engines, which of course is the big sticking point for a lot of people that say, EVs, I'm not paying for that because I have to basically pay 30 grand to get another battery in a few years. Everyone which obviously at this stage, that's not even a concern. Degradation is the only thing, and that's 7 to 10% under normal circumstances. Losing your entire battery pack unless you're using it in an extreme scenario.
Well, I was just thinking about Dobson and the Uber drivers and, people that we've made those videos about.
Very extreme scenarios.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's constantly the comments we get on that video specifically from naysayers, because that video reached a lot of people, is that exactly that I'm not buying an EV ever because I'm not going to ever put myself at risk of having to pay that much. But it looks like it's almost there already. You don't have to worry about replacing your battery.
We need to make an update with Dobson also, because he's now has his Model Y, thanks to a lot of you guys out there. And he's going between all of his cars now, driving them all.
Yes.
And really has like turned this into a great thing. But that's a whole nother video we'll get into. But he replaced his battery.
Yeah. But I mean, the cost is going to be lower. The cost for him, I believe, was $9,000 last year when he swapped his battery. It's going to be half that in a couple of more years, is what this study essentially suggests. So, I mean, it's good for mass adoption. Goldman Sachs even has its own study that supports that as well. So I mean, you look at the data and it looks like that worrying about your battery replacement cost is not really a thing.
Do you think now with these costs going down, they might bring back battery swapping, like what we're seeing like in China or
they've embraced it pretty well over there in Asia for sure.
Yeah.
Tesla tried it very early on. Obviously, it was way too early maybe for it to be accepted.
But robotaxi, I could see them
doing
this.
For robotaxi, that could be something that is more viable for sure, especially if it's going into a fleet setup and it has a dedicated spot to swap out at. But yeah, so I mean, you look at the comments of this battery study and people are saying that not only is it going to be cheaper, and it's basically already is, because you don't have to worry about other parts that run out after 5-6 years. So, I mean, gas cars, even if your engine goes on forever, you're so many other expensive parts that you'll have to gradually begin from the timing belt and so on. And, radiator, all these things that have to be swapped out, even if you've got this incredible Boss engine that, carries you since the 1990s. Some people always, you hear in the comment section, I've had this car since 94 and I've never had a problem with my engine. So, yeah.
It's interesting, like what is going to be changing in the future, and to think about it for sure. And like we just said with robotaxi, it's like half the amount of parts that are going into that vehicle. And now with this, it's like, well, that the cost to maintain that is going to be nothing.
Yeah. And Porsche too, Porsche's announced some things as well when it comes to their vehicles. They've of course embraced electric vehicles to a certain extent, but one of their execs just actually said they're going to be prioritizing driving over saving the planet. So yes, they're introducing compelling EVs. They've got the Macan, they've got the Taycan, but when it comes to how it handles, Porsche's really, really embraced the feel of engaging with the roadway and going around corners and feeling the tires gripping the road. They're saying regen braking, which already, if you've driven the Taycan or the Macan, that doesn't have very aggressive regen braking. That's by purpose because they want you to be able to feel the road and, feel the driving characteristics.
You do. I will say, like, I did a video with a tire company, and you got to drive different EVs on a track, and I drove the Taycan, and it was amazing. You could really feel the tires on the track more than you could like other EVs. And that was unique. And I feel like Porsche's saying, hey, we want to be the Rolex, and we're going to let Tesla be the Apple.
Okay. Yeah. That's a really good analogy.
Like the iWatch.
Yeah. And he basically, this executive at Porsche said that our strategy is not to one pedal drive. So specifically talking about the upcoming 718 Boxster and the Cayman sports cars, the electrified versions of these cars, they don't want to have these dedicated electric sports cars have regen braking where you're not engaging with the roadway. And they actually used examples that if you talk to race car drivers, especially Formula E drivers, regen braking is not a thing. Like they want to be able to have that. We did the
Mach-E. I kept
rally,
thinking about that.
And you actually asked that question from a driver. The Mach-E rally, we're like, is this really nice having regen? Because you can just, be able to lift your foot off and go around the corners full speed. And she's like, no, this driver really wanted the regen to be removed, and they actually had it disabled.
Yeah, they did, which made it hard for me being someone that drives electric every day. And I really like that strong regen feel. But in those scenarios, like, you don't want it. So I know it's a different type of, it's a different way
Apple
to drive.
Rolex is a good analogy.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's all we have this week. Again, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. There's all kinds of stories in there that don't make it into this podcast, but go into those newsletters. Also, for traveling and we don't get a podcast out, we put it into those newsletters.
Yeah, very nice bite-sized little coverage there where you get a paragraph of all of these stories, a lot of other stories, so many good stories that make it before the production, during the production, after the production of these podcasts. So I think you'll find a lot of value in that. So we'll link that down below. And you can even take it a step further, become a Patreon producer, which we're eternally grateful for. You get behind the scenes footage, never before seen content, Q&As, one-on-one Q&As with Kim and I, and also get the early release of this podcast and other episodes as well.
Yeah. It's a great way if you've ever wanted to just like sit down and, call us and like talk about something with us, go ahead and go on Patreon because we have an option for that.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll link everything you need to know down below.
And thank you guys so much for joining us and just watching and spreading the word. And please make sure you are subscribed to our channel, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care.